Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and in lieu of RPG Storytime this week, which I'll try actually get to it next week, even though one's not scheduled, I'm going to go ahead and go with my announcement here, and that is that I have just hit my next milestone, which is 500 subscribers. I gave it a day or two to make sure it sticks, because I get a lot of subscriber fluctuation in and out. But yeah, man, I have hit 500 subscribers. I'm really appreciative of everybody who has taken the time to watch, to comment, and to rate my videos, and to basically share their thoughts with me and with others about my channel. Every single subscriber is somebody I consider part of my extended gaming group, whether they interact or not. Every single one of them is absolutely valuable to me. I'm loving the way that my channel is growing. I'm gonna set my next goal is gonna be 1,000. That's when I'm next. I'm gonna do my next subscriber update video. And oddly enough, even though I've been setting these goals out seemingly a little bit crazy each time, I mean not for YouTube in general, but for me, at my growth rate, I've been meeting them. Now, mind you, I haven't put a deadline on them. But I've been growing rather steadily towards each one, and that's something that I appreciate. Those of you who have not been watching me that long, up until this point, I have basically been growing this channel organically, which basically means putting a video up, telling one or two people about it that are close personal friends, and then just letting it go. And so all of this growth that I've been seeing has been purely from people finding my videos on search, people sharing them with their friends and or on places they frequent, and basically going from there. And it's not the ideal way to grow a YouTube channel, but it's worked for me thus far. Now, next month I will be changing things up a little bit, because next month is basically, I set a goal for myself each month during my monthly update, and here's a sneak peek. Next month is basically going to be ways to spread the word and or grow my channel. I'm going to be focusing on that next month. I think, like this month, my focus was scheduling, and while I've fallen down a few times in terms of the timing of the video, and some of those were not my fault. Like a couple times I put up a video and then YouTube took like 2-3 hours to process it for some reason. And then yesterday I had everything recorded, but then my internet failed, so I was like, I can't upload it until late. But overall, on a day-for-day basis, I've been doing pretty damn well. For those of you who are not sure about my schedule, I'm going to do one Let's Play a day. And then on the first and second Tuesdays of each month, I will be doing RPG Crawler or a Tabletops and Taverns, where I discuss a particular aspect of role-playing. The third and fourth Tuesdays of each month, I'll be doing RPG Crawler or Storytime, RPG Storytime, and basically telling an amusing and or informative anecdote from my role-playing game days. And then on the second and fourth Mondays of each month, I'm doing RPG Crawler reviews, and I've been thinking about moving that to a weekly thing. If you would like to see RPG reviews as a weekly thing, let me know in the comments below. It's a hell of a lot of work, but it's something I don't mind doing. And then every Friday is my Indie Game Fridays, where I cover an independent role-playing game and basically do a little miniature / first impressions review. So far so good. I've been managing that schedule so far, and that leaves 4 days open for an additional little video on those 4 days. This week it's going to be the rest of my Heroes in the Mist game. So those of you who've been following that, expect to see new episodes of that on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. I've already got them recorded. I just need to break them down. And I'll try and get some more for like Saturday and Sunday, but right now my schedule's pretty much packed. Now that I'm focused on getting that schedule up and running every single time, and I've actually shown that I can manage it, then I can start adding additional things. Then next month, as I said, I'm going to work on getting the word out, so to speak. Now, I had this thing planned, like this video on how I do things in the channel planned for my 500 subscriber special, but I didn't get a chance to script it and or record it, so I'm going to tell it you on the fly. Now, we're going to go a little bit over the history of my channel. If you're not really interested, then feel free to skip ahead, because I will be covering other things at the end. In terms of how my channel operated, I started it in summer 2014 after watching a bunch of people online for years and years. I decided, hey, I can do this too. I've got a little bit of free time. I can go ahead and do this, and I need a new hobby. Because at that time, the friendly local gaming stores that I'd been going to had been closed for several years. So I was already doing all of my role-playing, all of my book role-playing, all of my tabletop role-playing online at that time. And I got to tell you, it duplicates a lot of what you would expect from a tabletop game, but it still left kind of this interaction void. I really wasn't meeting new people and or seeing new things. So I decided to fill the gap that hobby left. It was actually more a time thing, because it takes a lot less time to instead of driving to a store and spending time face to face, doing it all online. So there was a gap where I could actually do things. So I decided to fill it with making videos. I started with just basically Arena. Actually, I started with Dungeon Hack, just to test out the operations. I started doing the Elder Scrolls Arena playthrough end of summer 2014. And I didn't have a lot. I just worked with what I had. Now, at some point in the distant past, I don't remember when, I had picked up this webcam. And I decided to use it. This is a face cam. This was the basic webcam I picked up. I don't even know what brand it is. I had it sitting around for about 2 years, I think, because I intended to do this face-to-face D&D thing, and that never actually panned out. And I used a basic headset with a mic that I had got for, I think, like $5 at one time. It was just a basic mic headset that I'd actually picked up to use for voice chat during World of Warcraft. And that never really panned out the way it should have, because none of my guild used voice chat. I had a very odd guild. Anyway, with that basic stuff, with I want to say less than about $20-$30 worth of equipment, assuming that this stuff was like purchased new, I went ahead and decided to do recordings. First, I did live stream on Twitch, because that was the big thing right then, was to go ahead and live stream on Twitch. And so I used Open Broadcast software, which I still use to this day. But I used Open Broadcast software to capture the video and stream it to Twitch. And it became very evident very quickly that my real-life schedule would not support doing live streaming on any sort of a regular schedule. My schedule, even to this day, is way up in the air. It's a marvel I can make time to get the videos that I get up on YouTube. So I decided at the time to go ahead and start posting videos to YouTube. And so I did Arena, Elder Scrolls Arena, and I was doing a Legend of Grimrock. And Legend of Grimrock I eventually had to take down because like halfway through my save files corrupted. I actually had a hard drive failure. So that's about the time when I started doing Icewind Dale. And it just went on from there. Over time, I started adding new things. Like I started adding Indie Game Friday after I'd been doing it for a few months. And I've been, ever since, I've been adding a little bit of content in. A little bit of a different kind of content in, just experimenting with what people would like to see. Now, I had originally intended to start doing face-to-face D&D over the internet at the very beginning, but it took 1.5 years for that to take off. But I worked with those the basic gear for a long time, and it wasn't until the beginning of 2015 that I started saying, hey, I may need to go ahead and upgrade my video and my audio. For no other reason than, basically I took a look and I was really enjoying the hobby of throwing things up on YouTube and making videos. So I said, well, I enjoy it, so why don't I try to invest a little bit in it and see if we can't treat this like I do every other hobby. And for those of you who've seen my collection back here, when I get into a hobby, I get into a hobby pretty hard. Not as hard as some. I can't spend thousands of bucks on things simply because I don't have thousands of bucks. And in fact, I had no budget, zero budget for this channel. So what I ended up doing was early 2015 or whatever, I started, there were these like surveys, do online surveys for a couple bucks here and there kind of thing going on. So I started doing those in my free time, like while I was running around on my day jobs and when I wasn't recording, I'd just do a survey here and there for a couple of bucks. And I put all of that money into a buy equipment fund. And what I did was I eventually got a Blue Yeti microphone used on Amazon. And that replaced, the headset mic that I had been using. And it did so at about the time that my old headset actually died. So that was good timing on that part. So the first thing I picked up was my Blue Yeti microphone, I believe. And then the very next month, and I think it cost me about 65 to 70 bucks, and I forget exactly what, but I got it used and it came in excellent condition. I'm still using it to this day. And then the second thing I got was, I believe it's a Logitech C910, I think I'm using, a high definition webcam. I'll actually put links to these in the description below, but I got that one used as well, and that one cost me, I want to say 50 or 60 bucks used. And it just came with a webcam and a little envelope. I didn't get any boxes or any instructions or whatever, and I'm still using that to this day. It's a basic high definition webcam. Now, interestingly enough, at the time I got it, I was actually wondering why I even put face cams in my videos, because on role-playing games, it's not like you've got the jump scares, at least most of the time you don't have the jump scares, from other games and the things that really require a face-to-face look, but I decided to leave them in for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's a lot of really cutting emotional shit in some of these role-playing games, and I know I don't express it that much, but yeah, there's some shit that makes you step back and say, whoa. But there's the occasional what the fuckery and lore rants that come up, and that is when a face cam really comes in useful. When I see something that is clearly not working, I can address the webcam. I can address you guys through the webcam and basically share my frustration and share my irritation with the way that things go. In other words, I can just sit here and rant. And I don't know how many of you find that informative, but hell, I could do that with just voice chat, but yeah, there's a lot of what the fuckery in these games, and I like to preserve that for posterity, my initial reactions. Let's see. Aside from that, I've developed my process as time goes by, and people who are interested in my process, what I do is I still record my video through OBS, and I should probably upgrade to like TX-Tori or DX-Tori, excuse me, or something like that. But OBS is free and it works just fine for what I'm doing. It took me like a year to figure out the whole bitrate thing. That was like the end of Morrowind when I finally figured out, oh, maybe I should up the bitrate so that it doesn't blur so much. Because prior to Morrowind, I had simply been playing really old school games where the bitrate really didn't matter that much. Because if you're just streaming if you're recording something that's in like a 640 or 640 by 480 window, then that bitrate, it don't matter at all. It'll come out smooth. But if you're doing a full screen 3D thing, yeah, that bitrate needs to be up. And I didn't realize that. That's why my Morrowind video looks so blurry. After a while, I had been recording all of my audio through OBS as well, but then after a while, someone basically pointed me to the idea of using Audacity. And so currently what I do is I have OBS and Audacity set up to record. And Audacity I use to record my voice. I sync it up at the beginning. And then I can use Audacity to clean out all the background noise and the humming and shit that plagued some of my earlier videos. So those of you who are interested in doing Let's Plays, that's kind of the process I use. I go ahead and save them to a drive. One of the issues I have is that what I use for editing is an old version of Adobe Premiere. And that's actually left over from my previous work. I had got Master Suite because we used to do web development. And the Master Creative Suite actually came with Premiere, and it was one of those things that I never really used a lot, but I was paying for it anyway. So I figured, hey, I've got the license, I may as well use the fucking thing, right? So getting some use out of that. Well after my job, well after my prior work paid for it. So that's all good. So I use Premiere to throw stuff together. You don't need to use Premiere. You can use like pretty much any editing software to throw a video together, as long as you can cut and paste, and as long as you can do a basic transition. I think I used the dissolve transition in Premiere for like 90% of my stuff. But as long as whatever video editor you're using allows you to cut out sections and to do some sort of transition, then you're good to go if you want to edit your videos. So all in all, you can get in on a YouTube making YouTube videos very, very cheaply. All it requires really is a computer, which I'm assuming you have since you're watching. Well, actually, that's not a good assumption anymore. Half of my views are on mobile devices. But if you got some sort of computer and time, that's the real thing. Time. The time it takes to generate a video. Because of my limited hard drive space, I actually record in FLV. And then I use a third-party program, Format Factory, to convert it into a something that Adobe Premiere can import. Because Adobe can't, at least the one I use, because it's an older version, can't really directly import from .flv. Or if it can, it can't import from the version that OBS saves. But I do that because when I'm not recording into FLV format on OBS, there have been times where I've recorded one video and filled up my hard drive when I don't do that. So because I'm operating on very limited circumstances here, very limited capabilities, I have to basically, it adds like an additional hour of processing to every video I make. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll record 4 or 5, and this is another trick you get into when you do YouTube. You record several episodes at once, and that way you can go ahead and set the thing processing if you need conversions, or even if you're doing your editing, you can set 4 or 5 videos processing at once, and just let them go overnight, and it saves so much time doing that. For my Let's Play videos, I generally go in relatively blind. I don't often look something up unless I know that I'm having a problem with an area. And I'll record, I used to record 4 or 5, but now I go ahead and record the entire week's episodes all on one day, and I usually do that on a Sunday. And then for my other things, what I do is, another of my side jobs was I used to do writing and copywriting. So I've got my little laptop going. So I take my little laptop everywhere I go where it's feasible. So anytime I can steal 5 or 6 minutes, I go ahead and do my scripting for things like Indie Game Friday or RPG Crawler reviews. And I've got like 5 or 6 scripts like halfway done on the damn thing. And I just keep them going at all times. And those things are scripted. Oddly enough, the only vlog style thing that I do that's not scripting are my channel updates or something like this, and RPG story time. I don't script those. Those are, well, I may take notes, but I don't script those. Everything else is scripted, and you can probably tell the way I deliver. I got to get better at that, but RPG Crawler Reviews is scripted, Indie Game Fridays is scripted, RPG News Roundup is semi-scripted. I won't script word for word, but I will have like what I want to say up on the screen. I said the Let's Plays aren't scripted. The D&D games, of course, aren't scripted, but by doing scripting on the ones that require scripting, it lets me work out what I want to say without, as you can see, without me stumbling over things. And even then, a lot of times I'll stumble over stuff even if there's a script, and that's unfortunate, but it's just the way I am. It's the way I roll. Yeah, so that's my process, and I hope those of you who want to make their own YouTube channel and have been putting it off because they're afraid of the amount of the amount of investment and such, You don't really need an investment as long as you got some way to capture video. If you're doing games, OBS, if you're doing video, then any sort of smartphone. Like I got a dippy little smartphone right here that I barely use, but I got a camera on it. As long as it's got a camera, you're good to go. So start small and then build up. If you want views, there are ways to get a lot. There's ways to go ahead and get your name out. Up until this point, I believe that I've already covered this. I have not been doing a lot of promotion. I'll put my video links up on Twitter, and I actually stopped doing that for every video recently. And I've got like that blog that I just started, which I really need to update again. But I've basically been letting the channel grow organically. And that's served me well up to this point. But next month, I'm going to be focusing on ways to increase viewership by, dropping links here and there in places where, not spamming them, but if I see like a forum that's all about, like say Baldur's Gate 2, for instance, then yeah, I'll drop a link to my Baldur's Gate 2 playthrough in there in the hopes that somebody will view it. And I'm going to try and learn how to get on Reddit. I've viewed it a few times in the past, but I'll try to look at other social media, and that's really how once you get to a certain point, you really want to grow your channel. Or if you're just starting, that's a better way to do it than just letting it grow organically, unless you're exceptionally talented. And I don't want to put out to say, oh, spam it everywhere. No, because that just annoys people. But if you get it up on 2 or 3, 4 or 5 different places where you can genuinely get honest views on it, then that's a good start. It's taken me almost 2 years now for this channel. It'll be 2 years in June, I think, maybe July. I'll take a look. It's taken me that long to get this many views on this channel simply because I have been letting it grow organically. It took me months to even get my first views on YouTube. And that was only by people stumbling by. And that's why I really genuinely value all of my subscribers and all of my views, is because these are people who, you guys are people who were looking for some content. And you decided after seeing my content to stick around and watch it. And that's, people can sit there and give you all kinds of feedback. I mean, I really appreciate the feedback on my videos. But people can say, oh, that's a great video and so forth. And I really appreciate those. But the core, the kernel, is the simple fact that you guys have taken the time out to watch my videos. And that makes it all worthwhile. As I said, I'm making a little bit of money, just a trickle. Just like I think I've made like about a quarter of what I've invested in it. And as you can tell, if you add up what I've told you I've invested in it thus far, then you'll know how deep I'm in at it. It's, math exercise. I made about a quarter of that up since then, and that's not a good return. It's not a money-making proposition over the course of a year and a half. But as a hobby, it is absolutely excellent. Absolutely excellent. It's replaced that hole where not having a face-to-face gaming group has. It's really helped mitigate that. And therefore, I really, really value every view, every comment, even the ones that are not that positive. And I'm actually surprised a lot. The vast majority of my YouTube comments are either positive or constructive. I have had very little people just come out and be like vicious, and I understand that'll change as my channel gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But seeing the comments section in a lot of YouTube people, I am not surprised that some of them turn comments off. I am not surprised, because people can get very vicious. But I am just boggled about how positive my viewers are with their comments. I really, really appreciate that, and I hope that we can continue with that. It's an interesting interchange. Now, for those of you who wonder why I always push the subscribers, we're going to go ahead and give a quick lesson in how YouTube works. at least how I understand it to work. And if this bores you, then you can skip ahead. I'm not sure how long I'm going to ramble about this. In fact, you can just go ahead and call it here if you want, because I've already been rambling for 25 hours for what should have been basically a, hey, thank you for 500 subscribers. Let's see you at 1,000. Let's see another celebration at 1,000 milestone video. And I've been rambling on, but for those of you who wonder why I always encourage subscribers, comments, and likes, and dislikes for that matter, YouTube, and those of you who don't know, a lot of you already know how YouTube works, but YouTube basically weights where your video shows up in searches and in the suggested videos by a combination of the number of views in the first 48 hours and the amount of interaction in that time. And interaction includes comments, it includes likes, it includes shares, I believe it includes shares, and it includes dislikes. And all of that kind of are put together into an algorithm to tell YouTube's algorithm, or to tell YouTube's computers how to rank your video. So the more subscribers that you have in a YouTube channel, you don't get paid for the subscribers. You don't get paid directly for the subscribers. You get a little bit of bonuses when you get really, really huge numbers of subscribers. You get like a little awards and shit. But for the most part, subscribers are good because they help with that number of views on the first 48 hours thing. As a subscriber, you get a notification in your email occasionally, but also in your subscription feed. So-and-so has made a video. And with a larger number of subscribers, every video is going to attract a certain subset of those subscribers to watch it. I know I got a couple people that watch almost every video I put out, regardless of what I do it on. And that's really awesome. But then there's a fair amount of subscribers that will only watch certain videos. There's people who are only interested in my Let's Play content. There's people that are only interested in my tabletop content. That's why I kind of almost thought about splitting it into 2 channels. I've left it as 1 for now. But basically, a certain subset will watch it almost immediately when it comes out, within the first day or 2. And that doesn't guarantee, but it increases the likelihood of having a certain number of views. And subscribers, since they are so engaged, are more likely to comment, so it also increases the chances of a certain number of comments on the video in those first 48 hours. And as a result, and likes and shares and such, and as a result, the more subscribers you have, the more likely it is for each individual video that you put out to be higher in views and to earn a higher ranking on the suggested videos and the search results. And I know people are going to say, "Oh, why are you talking about views? Do you do this for the views?" And let me be upfront. You wouldn't be on YouTube if you weren't doing it for the views. You would not be putting stuff on YouTube if you didn't want people to see it. So yeah, of course it's for the views. But if I wanted to simply gather views in the most efficient manner possible in order to capitalize on ad revenue and that sort of thing, there are a hell of a lot better ways to do it. And I want to bring in the 2 examples that have brought in the most subscribers in the last month and a half, as well as basically my demonstration of why I do things the way I do and why I focus on some content and the mechanism by which YouTube ranks stuff. Okay, and I'm not complaining about how many subscribers I got off of these videos. Don't take that at all into consideration. These are just an example. I really appreciate the people that came to my channel because of those videos, because of the attention that they got, and then stayed for my other content. That is a good sign that I'm actually making content worthwhile, is those people who said, "Oh, I came for this, but hey, this other shit's cool too, so I would decide to stick around." That's awesome. But those of you who have been following my channel for a while probably know which videos I'm talking about. And that is the Siege of Dragonspear review and the Siege of Dragonspear addendum. Now, this is a good example of how YouTube works and how when I say if I wanted to put videos out just for the views, like purely for the views without having fun, then yeah, I could do it. There are ways to do it. I don't know if I could do it, but there are ways to do it. When I put together the first Siege of Dragonspear review, I did it relatively quickly. I gave it about the same amount of attention that I would for my Indie Game Friday. Except I actually spent another day or two on it, rather than concentrating on it, or rather than just blowing it out in a day. So I really wanted to try to capture as much as I could. The problem is that I also had to balance it against I wanted to do a relatively blind Let's Play later. So I did the intro, and that was about it. And I did my review on the intro. And oddly enough, and I had really assumed that there would be other reviews out at that time, but oddly enough, there were very few reviews on Siege of Dragonspear at that time, so it got a lot of views. And at first, it got a fairly large amount of views and a fairly large amount of likes. And because of that combination of views and likes in the first 48 hours, it started ranking higher and higher and higher in the search rankings. Despite the fact that it's just me talking behind some video giving my first impressions of it. And it got a fairly high amount of ranking right at the beginning. And the positive feedback, that is the likes to dislikes ratio, was very high at the very beginning. And then the controversy broke out because there was some content in there that was questionable taste and quite frankly, questionable craftsmanship. And there were some bugs, and there's still a lot of bugs, and the interface kind of blew, and so on and so forth. I liked some of the original interface, but not the map system and so forth. So there was a lot of kickback on. There's a lot of pushback on the Siege of Dragonspear expansion, and a lot of this stuff came to light after my original review went up. So I put up an addendum. I didn't do it for the views. I did it to make perfectly clear that this was my initial impression. I'm going to leave it up there regardless of how much people may come to dislike it later, because those were my initial thoughts at the time, and I can't take back initial thoughts. I mean, I can take the video off, but why? Those were my first impressions. And then I did a video with nothing but me in a vlog addressing the camera, talking about concerns with controversy and buggy content and so on and so forth. And that started getting a lot of likes and views. And, well, here's my aside. If I just purely wanted to do this for the views, without any concern for for me having fun personally, if I just wanted to make money, I just wanted the views, all I would do is cover controversy. I would do drama in RPG, just basically be a drama in RPG channel. I don't want to do that. I want to spend my time playing games that I like or sometimes dislike, covering tabletop role-playing game, and bringing informative views and trying to be as informative as possible within the time that I can allot to this hobby. That's what I like to do. That's what brings me joy. That's why I'm going to focus on that with my channel. If I wanted to just grab views, then I would just put, and trust me on this, for those of you who have been following Twitter, the Twitter various role-playing game tags in Twitter like I do, there are quite a few controversies that have basically popped up over time, over the last couple months especially, that have gotten a lot of attention. And if I just want to do nothing but RPG drama, there is a lot out there to go ahead and cover. It boggles my mind because it seems to be getting worse over time. It's terrible, but if I just wanted to cover controversial subjects, then yeah, I could get a lot of views. And I could get maybe not as much as if it was somebody that was just out and out exploiting it, but yeah, I could get quite a few views by just doing a controversy of the month or a controversy of the week video. I don't want to do that. I want to have fun. I want to put videos up that reflect the kind of content that I would like to see. I want to tell amusing tales of role playing. I want to go ahead and put up news and in facts and release dates and shit when I can get them. I want to discuss the mechanics of role playing. I don't want to become basically yet another, oh, look at this, look what they're talking about here kind of thing. Now, if I'm requested, if somebody requests my views on a subject, I might put up a vlog on it. But thankfully, that's been few and far between. But yeah, if I wanted to just do it purely for the views, I mean, yeah, I'm doing it for the views, but I'm not doing it for just purely the views. I'm having a lot of fun with what I'm doing. And that's an important part of YouTube for me, is to just enjoy what I'm doing. Because, quite frankly, there are a hell of a lot easier ways to make money than on YouTube. Let's see, back to what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Now, those two videos taken as an example of how YouTube works. Those two videos, like the first video especially, because it got those views in the very beginning, because it got a lot of thumbs ups, a lot of interaction, had a lot of comments on it, it got a lot of views, maybe not a huge amount of views. I mean, for my channel, for my relatively small channel, it got a lot of views in those first 48 hours. And thus, after the first 40 hours kicked in, after the controversies kicked in, those were still ranking pretty damn high in terms of, reviews and or content on Siege of Dragonspear. And because they didn't, because my first video didn't cover any of the controversy, because it was out before I actually ran into it and before it was actually uncovered, after the controversy came up, because I didn't really address it, a lot of people started giving negative like thumbs down and dislikes on it. And hilariously enough, YouTube, the algorithm weights dislikes just the same as likes. So it was this feedback loop where I started getting dislikes. To this day, I'm getting people that view it and give me dislikes on it because I didn't cover the controversy. And it's still just racking in views. Not as much as it did in that first week, but it's still getting a fair amount of views. I wish that my other reviews, the only other review that even came close was my Curse of Strahd review. And that was just a buy the books, let's go ahead and flip through this book kind of review. And that's the kind of review I'd like to stick to. Those of you who have seen like my Book of Lost Spells review, which just came out, that's the kind of shit that I like to do, is to take a look at the book and give you a non-spoiler review of, okay, this is neat, this is the kind of stuff you can find in it, here's a breakdown of what's in it. Leave it up to you to decide whether that's worth it. That's the kind of review I'd prefer to do. But yeah, it's amazing. And interestingly enough, the second video I did on the Siege of Dragonspear, which was basically my thoughts on the subject, that actually has there's a much better like to dislike ratio. I was expecting people to dislike it because, quite frankly, measured and fair responses to stuff that you see on the internet is kind of rare now. I would comment on James Rolfe's recent thing on the Ghostbusters remake, but I don't want to open that can of worms too much. But suffice to say that the internet occasionally dislikes that kind of thing. But yeah, it's that one has still got a surprisingly high like to dislike ratio, and it's interesting the way that works, because if I wanted to just get views, I could put out, because YouTube rewards dislikes, I could put absolute shit content out and just make people hate it, and it would rack in the views, and that's fucking sad, man. That is sad. That's not the kind of content I want to do, though. Now, wow, I have rambled for a long. This is like a 40-minute video. It's going to be a little bit longer now, because I'm going to say that's just my philosophy on it. Is why I appreciate all the subscribers that stuck around to view as they do, is because it's a lot of work to put these videos up. I could put more work into them. In fact, there's a couple video series that I have planned that I want to do. I kind of don't want to announce them because there's so much work involved with putting them together that it's going to be a while. So if I say what I want to do, then I'm going to get people asking me, oh, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? And I don't want to get to that point. But suffice to say that there's a couple of videos that I want to do that are very high in terms of the work required that I will get to as my schedule allows. But yeah, that's an outline of how I started, the work that's involved with me putting a video together. A review takes me approximately, like a standard review like what I do on a book, takes me about 4 to 8 hours to do. And that's not including video processing time, so you can tack on another 2 hours to that. So yeah, it's a little bit over 1 day's work. If I want to do a really in-depth review, then it takes me about a day and a half. And if I want to do a video review of a game that's not Indie Game Friday, but that's like really in-depth, it takes me about 2 to 3 days to do that. And that's assuming that I don't play it all the way through, which could be the case in the if I wanted to do like a retrospective on a particular game and want to get footage from the entire game, then that would take me much longer than just a few days. And that's the kind of stuff that I actually kind of want to put up. I want to do retrospectives, having an entire review of a game, and that would take me quite some time because I would have to either play through the game or find appropriate footage on the internet, which I don't want to take other people's footage. But yeah, there's a lot of work involved with what I want to do, and that's kind of why I want views. That's kind of why I want to increase my subscribers and my views, because the more I can justify treating this hobby as a full-time thing, which I'm not even close. I need to get like 100. I need to get 500. Yeah, I need to get about 100 times as many subscribers and or income commensurate with that. I think it starts balancing out around the 10,000 mark. I've done the math. Then I can justify spending more money and more time on producing that really, really in-depth content. And that's kind of my dream, is to be able to justify spending less time on some of my day jobs, because I've still got 3 day jobs. One of them doesn't require a lot of time, but yeah, the other 2 do. Spending quite a bit more time on my YouTube content and hopefully, upping the quality and producing stuff that people really genuinely enjoy watching. You can only get so far on Let's Plays unless you've got a really stellar presentation. And my presentation is a lot more laid back than a lot of the people that make purely the Let's Plays their job. And the fact that I'm covering role-playing games and thus things that take like 80, 90 episodes to get through, that kind of cuts down on the number of people that are interested in watching a series that long. So, yeah, next month's goal is to try to figure out ways to get more eyes on the channel, just so I can justify taking more time away from my paying work, so to speak, and spending more time doing this, because I really, really enjoy making these videos. And I hope that someday my skill level will increase to the point where they are genuinely worth watching. Anyway, I've rambled. I've kept. If you watch to the end of the video here, have a gold star and give me a thumbs up in the comments below. God damn, I can't even do it. Yeah, give me a shout if you've got this far through the video. Tell me what you thought about it. Tell me what you would like to see on the channel. Tell me how you would like to see me evolve it in the future. Tell me all of your thoughts. This is where you go ahead and just tell me whether I'm doing a good job, whether I'm doing a shit job. I will take all criticism into account, because that's the only way that you learn and you improve, is when people tell you what you need to improve. So, got anything you'd like to see me improve, give me a shout. If you've got any series that you'd like to see me focus on, let me know. If you want to see me, any of the ideas that I've floated in past channel updates, and you want to see them come to fruition, ask me about them. And I guess that's about it. As always, if you like what you see, leave me a like. Hell, if you hate seeing me ramble, leave me a dislike, and subscribe for more RPG content if I've piqued your interest, so to speak. Until next time, take care and goodbye.